How's it going, guys? We are just a day away from kickoff of the New England Patriots versus the New York Giants in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Going to be a very stressful game, given all the circumstances. I'll get into those in a moment. Before I start up this video, which of course is just my top 5 things to watch for in this ball game, is I'm doing a giveaway on my Twitter. It is still going on. Of course, no purchase necessary. Get your hands on this Devin Bush autographed rookie card. Check out this tweet for all the information in regards to the giveaway. But without further ado, let's hop in to the top 5 things to watch for in the New York Giants versus New England Patriots. Number 5, Darius, Slayton, and Golden Tate. Now, both of these receivers are things to watch for in this ballgame for completely different reasons. For starters, though, if Sayqualm Berkeley is indeed going to miss yet another game here, which of course I'll be getting into later on in the video, we're going to need some sort of spark on our offense, and I believe one of these two or both of these men could be that spark. Slayton is on this list because he appears he is finally starting to get some recognition, not only from the Giants fan base, but also from the coaching staff, as he's getting more reps and honestly more targets in the ball game. He's showing that he's more than just a deep threat, which obviously he does very, very well. But in the last game against Minnesota, he showed multiple different routes that he has at his disposal in his route tree. Seeing as how there is very limited film on Slayton, I'm expecting him to be a bigger threat in this game against the Patriots, especially considering the numerous injuries that we do have on the offensive side of the ball. On the other hand, though, Golden Tate is on this list because of his lack of opportunities and lack of production that we have seen in his first game back from suspension. Following that first game against Minnesota, I was very anxious to hear an explanation, so to speak. Like, was Golden Tate injured? Like, what was the situation and why was he held to just 3 catches for 15 yards? Now, I was expecting a guy coming off of a suspension that he believed he didn't deserve. It was kind of a mucky situation there. I was expecting him to come out of the gate with fire up his ass, ready to get onto the field and really show out, show the Giants his worth, that it was worth waiting on him for that 4-game suspension after everything that was going on, and that just didn't happen. Now, after the ball game, he did make a statement that he was fine and that he really hopes to be a bigger part of this offense going forward. And as do I. We signed him, after the exit of Odell Beckham. Thought he'd be another big wide receiving threat for us. He is still a very good, viable option at wide receiver. I was very confused by his lack of production. I mean, I get it. It was his first game back, wanting to ease him into the ball game. But coming into New England, like I said, with the status of Sterling Shepard all but confirmed due to his second concussion, the status of Sayqualm Berkeley and Evan Ingram kind of up in the air, being withheld right now from the media. We really need these two to step it up. Not so much Slayton, now that he's given opportunities, he's been showing out. But more so for Golden Tate. We are going to need these two. They're going to be most important in our offense if we don't get any of these guys back. Obviously, I mentioned Berkeley may be playing. I'll get into that. And Evan Ingram may be playing as well. Especially if not, we're going to need these guys in a big way. Number 4, Sayqualm Berkeley's status. Speaking of Berkeley's status, without question, he is on this list for the second straight week for the same thing. We really haven't heard anything as far as an update goes from either Berkeley himself or Coach Shermer. Berkeley just simply saying that every day he's getting better and getting back to 100%. He's going to be better than ever when he does return. But really nothing has come out in regards to this, which I believe is a strategy move by the Giants. Last week, I complained that we announced Berkeley not playing too soon, giving Minnesota more than enough time to kind of game plan around Berkeley not playing. This week, it looks like the Giants are holding this very close to the chest, which I believe is a very smart move. Now, if you watch that Minnesota game, it was abundantly clear that the fact that we had no rushing attack was detrimental to our success. I mean, Wayne Gallman filled in very nicely for Sayqualm Berkeley against Washington, But once he went down with injury, our offense was hung out to dry. I mean, the Minnesota defense knew that we had no rushing attack, left us completely one-dimensional. Knowing that we could only throw the football, they were able to adjust and completely shut us down. I completely stood by the Giants' decision to not sign another running back when Sayqualm Barkley went down. I had all the faith in the world in Wayne Gallman. But now that Wayne Gallman has gone down as well, it's clear that the combination of rookie John Hilleman and fullback Elijah Penny is not going to be an option against any respectable defense. And we're taking on arguably the toughest defense in the NFL to this point in the New England Patriots. If we're left with no option but Daniel Jones throwing the football, it could get very ugly very quickly. You need a balanced offense in the NFL in 2019. Yes, it's the air raid era where big yardage is being gained through the air, but you need a complementary run game to set up those passes. You saw it against Minnesota. The run game was non-existent. Their secondary took over. And if you thought Minnesota had a good secondary, wait till later in the video when I cover what the Patriots have on that side of the ball. Now, as I mentioned, the Giants have been keeping the status of Barkley close to the chest to this point, not really giving out any indication one way or another, which I believe is very smart. Now, my personal opinion is you wait until game time, you make it a game time decision, but in the end, you sit Sayqualm Barkley. Now, the reason that I'm saying you sit Sayqualm Barkley, and I mentioned this in my news video earlier this week, is because at this point, given the circumstances, Shepard out, Gallman out, Evan Ingram most likely going to be missing this ball game. We're put in a very difficult situation to come out with a win this week against the Patriots. At full staff, it's a tough game as it is. But especially now, given the circumstances, we're 2-3. If we take an L against the Patriots, 2-4, our division leaders, the Dallas Cowboys and Eagles, are only 3-2. Now, it is very, very early in the season. We still have a division game against Dallas, a division game against Washington, and 2 games against the Philadelphia Eagles. We have more than enough time to make up ground in our division if we are still looking at that playoff picture. So for me, it's a smarter decision to rest Barkley another week, give him more time to recover, get him above 100%, and look at the rest of the season. The last thing we need is to rush him back, have him re-aggravate an existing injury or re-injure that same leg, whatever it may be, and him being out for even longer in the season. Live to fight for another day is kind of the mindset that I'm looking at right now. But regardless, if Barkley is a go or if he is a no-go, this is a major reason and why it is on my list of top 5 things to watch for going into this game. Number 3, Nate Solder. After looking very solid and impressive early on in the season, slowly but surely, the weak links of our offensive line have begun to show. Now, I single out Nate Solder here, and that's because it is clear at this point, he is the weakest link of this O-line. Now, have others looked bad at certain points? Absolutely, but no one has looked as consistently bad as Nate Solder has, especially starting in that Tampa Bay game. I mean, he is making way too much money for the lack of production that he has been giving out. He acknowledged this actually mainly after the Minnesota game in a press conference, basically saying that he has not played as well as he believes he's capable of, and couldn't help but agree. Teams are starting to single him out and attack him. As I mentioned, Tampa Bay absolutely annihilated him. Mainly Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett put on every pass rush move you could possibly think of against Nate Solder and won every single time. And it hasn't stopped other teams from following that pattern. As you can see here, Minnesota's Everson Griffith put on a spin move that put him in a cycle that he is probably still spinning. That might have been where that ankle injury came from. He needs to step it up. Now, I understand free agency is where you overpay for talent, but at some point, the talent has to play up to the contract. And to this point, even going back to last season, he has just not done that. Of course, the test does not get any easier this week with guys like Jamie Collins, Kyle Van Noy, and the other pass rushers on that Patriots defense. So we need Nate Solder to put on a great performance here. Obviously, going back to his former team's home stadium, no better time than now for him to finally show why he is being paid the amount that he is being paid. Because at this point, he's the weakest link, as I said, and I will without question be watching to see how he performs at Gillette. Number 2, Dexter Lawrence. Now, I single out Dexter Lawrence here for a reason. Yes, do we need a performance from our entire defense and defensive line? Of course we do. But even Superman had kryptonite, and Tom Brady has his as well. It's clear, for years now, the way to beat Tom Brady, the formula has been written. It's just a matter of executing that formula. A heavy pass rush up the middle, getting in Tom Brady's face is the way you succeed against the Patriots. But as I said, not every team is able to do so. Now, would it be Giants and Patriots without, of course, mentioning those Super Bowl wins? First of all, without guys like Michael Strahan, Osi Umenyiora, Justin Tuck in Super Bowl 42, that could have ended a lot differently. What was the key in that game? Those guys pressured Brady, got in his face, and made him pay. And the same goes for Super Bowl 46. Without Jason Pierre-Paul, Justin Tuck, Linval Joseph, and Chris Cansey, history would be completely different at this point. So that's why, without question, number 3 on this list is the big man, Dexter Lawrence. I'm going to be keying in on him all game, the big man up front. Can he penetrate? Can he use his big frame to get in the way of the sight line of Tom Brady? Now, earlier in the year, a lot of criticism was thrown Dexter Lawrence's way, kind of the lack of production that he has shown, but so far, I mean, in these past few games, he has certainly showed his value more and more. Now, he's never going to be a fill up the stat sheet kind of guy, but last game was certainly his best as a pro. He finished with 5 total tackles, 1 sack, and a forced fumble. Those are the exact numbers that we need that sort of outing in this game if we have any chance whatsoever. As I said, he's not a big stat sheet guy. You know, he's the type of guy that'll use his big frame to clog up those rushing lanes, make a running back bounce outside where a linebacker may get the tackle. But he is showing some pass rush ability. As I said, a very slow start to the season for him, but he's been coming on as of late. So without question, I'm going to be keying in on the big man, watching what he's able to do against this Patriots offensive line. Of course, it goes without saying, as I said, it's going to be a collective effort of the whole D-line and the defense as a whole. But Lawrence having another good performance and getting in the face of Tom Brady could go a long way in this ballgame. And number 1, Jones versus the pass coverage. Now, as I already mentioned at the beginning of this video, Berkeley and Gallman going down has left us completely one-dimensional at this point. Minnesota knew this, and they just blanketed the coverage on the field, giving Jones very small windows to try and execute any sort of ball movement. Now, coming into Foxborough against arguably an even better secondary, we need a better plan of action if we're going to succeed in this game. Now, don't get me wrong, even if we do have Sayqualm Berkeley on the field in this game, we are still facing an incredibly dangerous secondary. The Patriots at all positions are dangerous, but their secondary has certainly showed the most dominance throughout this season. When you take a look at the Patriots defense, it is clear why they're 5-0. Now, I get it, Tom Brady, whatever. You could say what you want about their offense, but their defense has been leading the way all season, and I am, without question, more afraid of that defense than I am the Patriots offense. Now, if we start with the McCourty brothers, Devin, the safety of the duo, he already has 4 interceptions this season. If we bounce over to his cornerback brother, he only has 1 thus far, but 4 total pass deflections and has just been shutting down everyone this year. But it doesn't just stop with the brothers. If we're talking about shutdowns, Stephon Gilmore is turning into one of the best shutdown corners in this league. Had a slow start with Buffalo, coming to New England has completely changed his career. But it doesn't even stop with just their secondary in terms of the pass coverage. Jamie Collins has been putting on a performance that is arguably going to earn him Defensive Player of the Year. If he continues at this pace, he's got my vote. At this point in the season, he already has 4.5 sacks, 27 total tackles, 3 interceptions, and he returned one of those interceptions for a touchdown. That is absolutely mind-blowing. So this is without question number 1 on my list because as shown in the Washington and Minnesota game, Daniel Jones is not afraid to air the ball out and try to fit it into tight windows. Ended up with multiple interceptions in the Washington game, ended up with 2, could have had another that was dropped. In the Minnesota game, I believe it was only 1 interception, but numerous times passes were tipped or a defender was there, and it could have been an even worse ball game for Daniel Jones. So it goes without saying, against a dangerous secondary like this, those errors just cannot happen because the Patriots defense will exploit it every single time. Of course, if Sayqualm Berkeley is in fact on the field, as well as Evan Ingram, if we do have those guys playing and they are healthy, this could be a completely different situation here. But going with what we know at this point, most likely we're playing without those guys, so Daniel Jones needs to play smart football. As I said, I am much more afraid of this defense than I am against the Patriots offense. If we can stop Tom Brady throughout the ball game and our defense can step up, I believe our offense will keep us in this game. We have enough firepower at this point. It's just not costing ourselves, not making mistakes against this defense, and obviously stopping Brady on offense. Clearly a homer's mentality here, obviously rooting for the Giants, of course, Giants themed channel, but regardless, I am a realist, and this is obviously going to be a tough one. We have the deck stacked against us about as high as you possibly can, but going into Thursday night, you just never know what can happen when it is Giants-Patriots. But that's all I got for you guys today. That is the top 5 things that I will be watching for in this ball game. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like on it and sub to the channel if you haven't already. Check out my Twitter for the giveaway for this Devin Bush autograph rookie card. As always, tomorrow I will be posting the full game preview and predictions. And then Friday morning, I will be posting the review and reactions to the Giants versus Patriots. But other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next one.